Captain Maya Rodriguez stood on the bridge of her ship watching the enemy fleet approach through space. The alien ships looked like deadly crystals floating between the stars. Each ship was 3 times bigger than any human vessel, or so the aliens believed. For 300 years, humanity had played a careful game. They pretended to be weak new arrivals in the galaxy, barely able to build working spaceships, communications. Officer Lisa Chang turned to face her captain. The enemy commander was sending a message demanding immediate surrender. Maya smiled, knowing this moment would change everything. The aliens called themselves the Zephyrians, and they considered themselves the strongest military force in known space. They had ruled over dozens of worlds for thousands of years. Maya spoke into her communication device, knowing her words would reach far beyond the small fleet visible to the enemy ships. All ships, this is Rodriguez, execute protocol revelation. Across the empty darkness of space, something amazing began to happen. Reality itself seemed to bend and twist. Invisible barriers that had hidden massive structures for decades started to fade away, like fog disappearing in sunlight. Enormous ships began to appear where nothing had existed moments before. The enemy admiral spoke through the communication system, his voice full of confusion and growing fear. What kind of trick is this? Those ship designs are impossible. They look older than our oldest records. Maya replied calmly, while watching more human vessels materialize around them. These ships are older than your species' first written words. Allow me to show you humanity's true military strength. Ships we have been building and hiding while you thought we were barely surviving on scrap metal and broken technology. The Zephyrian fleet had come expecting an easy victory against primitive humans. Instead, they now faced mobile star fortresses that dwarfed their largest vessels. Each human ship displayed technology that should not exist according to everything the aliens knew about physics and engineering. Admiral Cathera commanded the Zephyrian attack force. She had destroyed human colonies before always finding weak defenses and outdated weapons. Now her sensors showed energy readings that made no sense. Weapons that could crack planets. Power sources that seemed to draw energy from dimensions beyond normal space. Maya continued speaking while more sections of her hidden fleet revealed themselves. We have been very patient with your attacks on our outer colonies. We allowed you to believe you were winning. We let you think humanity was struggling to survive in space, but your aggression has finally forced us to show our true capabilities. Massive human vessels moved through space with impossible grace. Their hulls seemed alive, shifting and changing as advanced materials responded to unknown commands. Some ships were so large they had their own weather systems inside protective barriers. Others appeared to be constructed from materials that bent light around them, creating rainbow effects across their surfaces. Lisa Chang reported multiple incoming messages from the enemy fleet. Captain, they are requesting immediate talks. Their ships are trying to retreat, but something is preventing their escape. Several Zephyrian commanders are asking for mercy. Maya nodded while studying displays that showed the true extent of human deception. Hidden shipyards orbited distant stars. Manufacturing centers had been built inside hollowed-out asteroids. Entire fleets waited in pocket dimensions that human scientists had learned to access through studying ancient alien ruins. The enemy had believed humans were newcomers to space travel, barely managing to reach nearby star systems. The truth was far different. Humanity had been traveling between stars for thousands of years, learning from civilizations that had existed long before current galactic powers had even developed basic tools. The main viewing screen, a structure began to appear near the system's central star. What the aliens had assumed was a simple solar collection array for mining operations revealed itself as something much more impressive. A partial ring around the star itself designed to capture and redirect stellar energy on a massive scale. Maya announced on an open channel that reached every ship in the system. This is what we consider a small construction project. We have been building such structures, while your various species fought over individual planets. Perhaps it is time you understood who you have really been dealing with. The Zephyrian admiral sent another desperate message. What do you want from us? We were told humans were weak primitives, barely worth our attention. How long have you been hiding this power? Maya considered her response carefully. We want the same thing we have always wanted, to exist in peace, to continue our research, to protect the ancient knowledge we have inherited. The only difference is that now you know we are here. More human ships continued to appear, each one displaying technology that challenged everything the aliens thought they knew about science and engineering. Some vessels seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Others appeared to be grown rather than built, their organic curves suggesting biological origins. The battle that the Zephyrians had expected to win in minutes had become something entirely different. They faced not primitive humans struggling with basic space travel, but inheritors of technologies from civilizations so advanced they had transcended normal physical existence. Maya watched as panic spread through the enemy formation. Their weapons were useless against human defensive systems. Their fastest ships could not escape the gravitational fields that human technology could create and control at will. The deception that had protected humanity for centuries was finally over. The galaxy would never again underestimate the species they had dismissed as newcomers, struggling to survive among the stars. Dr. Elena Torres appeared as a glowing image on the bridge of the lead Zephyrian vessel. Admiral Kythera stared at the human scientist with growing fear as Elena began to reveal the truth about humanity's real history. The crystalline features of the alien commander showed shock when she realized what she was hearing. 15,000 years ago, when your ancestors were learning to make simple stone tools, human explorers were already walking between distant stars. Elena began while her holographic form flickered despite enemy attempts to block the transmission. We did not evolve on the planet you call Earth, Admiral. We came from somewhere much older and far stranger than you can imagine. The display behind Elena shifted, showing star maps that were older than any records in the galactic archives. Ancient human settlements scattered across the spiral arms of the galaxy. Evidence of expansion that began when current galactic powers were nothing more than primitive animals learning to use. Fire Elena continued her explanation while Admiral Kythera tried to process information that challenged everything she believed about galactic history. The ships you see before you are not just vessels for transportation. They are libraries carrying the technological wisdom of dozens of extinct civilizations. We have been their students, their caretakers, their chosen inheritors. Captain Amy Watson commanded one of the newly revealed human dreadnoughts called Silent Eternity. Her ship alone was larger than the entire Zephyrian attack force. The biomechanical hull rippled with technologies that violated known laws of physics. Materials that seemed alive, responding to commands through methods that current galactic science could not explain. I watched as confusion and terror spread through the enemy formation. Her vessel carried weapons that could reshape entire star systems, power sources that drew energy from the quantum foundations of reality itself. Defensive systems learned from species that had existed when the universe was young. Elena hologram gestured toward displays showing archaeological evidence from across the galaxy. While your people were developing their first written languages, humans were already studying the ruins of civilizations that had transcended physical existence. We found their cities, their libraries, their gifts of knowledge waiting for worthy inheritors. The Zephyrian admiral tried to speak but found no words for what she was learning. Her species had ruled over dozens of worlds, believing themselves to be among the most advanced life forms in the galaxy. Now she discovered they were children playing with toys, while humans possessed wisdom from beings that had moved beyond normal space and time. Amy opened communications with other human ship commanders. Captain Collins reports that enemy reinforcements are turning away without engaging. Captain Peterson indicates that 3 minor powers have already requested non-aggression pacts. The word is spreading faster than we anticipated. Elena continued her historical presentation, showing images of human colonies that predated known galactic civilization by millennia, underground cities on worlds that were supposed to be uninhabited, research stations disguised as natural formations, listening posts that had monitored every major galactic power for thousands of years. The technology you see around you comes from the architects, a species that learned to exist in multiple dimensions. Simultaneously, Elena explained while showing images of impossible structures that seemed to fold space around them. They left behind tools and knowledge for those who would come after them. Humans were chosen to be their students. Admiral Kythera finally found her voice. "How many of you are there? How long have you been watching us?" What else are you hiding from the galaxy? Elena smiled sadly as she answered. There are more humans scattered across the stars than all your known species combined. We have colonies in places you have never explored. Outposts in dimensions you cannot detect, research facilities studying phenomena that your science has not yet discovered. The silent eternity moved closer to the Zephyrian flagship displaying weapons, arrays that seemed to grow from the ship's living hull. Amy Watson studied her instruments showing energy patterns that defied conventional understanding. Her ship was not built. It was grown using biological engineering techniques, learned from species that had existed before current stars formed. Elena gestured to another set of displays showing the true scope of human presence in the galaxy. Hidden shipyards orbiting brown dwarf stars. Manufacturing complexes built into asteroid fields that appeared to be natural formations. Entire fleets waiting in pocket dimensions that could be accessed through technologies inherited from ascended civilizations. We have been content to remain hidden, Elena continued while showing images of human observers, documenting galactic conflicts. We watched your wars, your discoveries, your mistakes. We learned from your successes and failures. We prepared for the day when we might need to reveal ourselves. Captain Watson received reports from across the human fleet. Enemy forces were surrendering without firing a shot. Minor powers were abandoning their alliances with major galactic empires. The carefully maintained balance of power that had existed for thousands of years was crumbling within hours. Elena addressed Admiral Kythera directly. You want to know what we are hiding. The truth is that humans are not the oldest or most advanced species we have encountered. We are simply the newest students in a school that has existed since before your sun began burning. We learned patience from civilizations that measure time in geological ages. The Zephyrian commander stared at readings showing human ships that existed partially outside normal space vessels that seemed to be constructed from materials that should not be able to exist. Weapons that could manipulate the fundamental forces that held atoms together. Amy Watson watched as the last enemy ships powered down their weapon systems. The war that should have lasted months was ending before it had truly begun. The galaxy would never again be the same now that humanity's secret was revealed to all who could see and understand the truth. Chief Engineer Kate Morrison ran her hands along the quantum resonance chambers deep inside the human vessel. Eternal Wanderer. These were not human inventions, but gifts from a species called the Architect's beings who had moved beyond physical form long before most current civilizations had learned to make fire. The chambers hummed with energy that came from dimensions beyond normal space. Captain Victoria Collins stood on the bridge, studying displays that showed the true extent of human deception. Hidden construction projects that had been disguised for centuries appeared on her screens. Shipyards orbiting distant stars that aliens had never discovered. Manufacturing centers built inside hollowed asteroids that looked like natural. Space Rock's tactical officer Rachel Davis reported multiple surrender messages coming from enemy fleets across the system. Captain, the Zephyrians are attempting to retreat, but our interdiction fields are preventing their escape. The Hegemony Council is requesting immediate negotiations. They are offering full galactic citizenship and territorial concessions. Victoria almost laughed at the irony. The same council that had reluctantly given humanity a single star system was now offering everything they had once wanted. But humans had learned patience from civilizations that counted time in millions of years, rather than decades or centuries. Communications. Specialist Lauren Kim added more reports. The Korthan Empire has declared neutrality and wants a non-aggression pact that makes 15 major powers breaking away from the Hegemony Alliance in the past 6 hours. The entire galactic political structure is collapsing. Victoria nodded while watching massive structures decloak throughout the solar system. What aliens had thought were simple mining operations revealed themselves as construction projects on an unimaginable scale. Dyson rings partially built around stars, energy collectors that could power entire star systems. Tell them. We will consider their offers, Victoria announced on an open channel. But first they need to understand exactly what they have been dealing with for all these centuries. The main viewing screen shifted to show a structure near the system star that defied everything aliens knew about engineering. a ring of connected platforms orbiting the stellar core, capturing and redirecting energy output that could supply power to thousands of worlds simultaneously. Kate Morrison emerged from the engineering levels carrying data tablets that showed power readings beyond alien comprehension. Captain, our reactors are operating at minimum capacity, and we are still generating more energy than their entire fleet combined. These quantum chambers tap directly into the zero-point field. Victoria studied the engineering reports while more human ships revealed themselves across the system. Each vessel displayed technology that challenged accepted understanding of physics and chemistry. Ships that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, hulls made from materials that repaired themselves when damaged. Rachel Davis monitored communications from fleeing enemy forces. Captain, they are broadcasting on all frequencies trying to warn their home governments. Some are claiming we have weapons that can destroy entire star systems. Others report that our ships appear to violate the basic laws of space and time. The truth was both simpler and more complex than the aliens could understand. Human technology was not entirely human in origin. It came from studying ruins and artifacts left by dozens of species that had transcended normal physical existence over millions of years. Victoria walked to the navigation station where stellar maps showed human presence throughout the galaxy. Hidden colonies on worlds listed as uninhabited in alien databases, research stations camouflaged as natural formations, listening posts that had monitored every major civilization for millennia. Lauren Kim received another urgent communication. Captain, the Zephyrian Admiral Cathera is requesting private talks. Her message indicates she is acting without authorization from her government. She claims to have information about other hidden civilizations. Victoria considered the request carefully. The aliens were beginning to understand that humanity was not the only species keeping secrets. The galaxy contained layers of deception and hidden knowledge that most civilizations never suspected. Show her our archaeological division records. Victoria decided, let her see what we have learned about the species that came before all of us. The bridge displays shifted to show images from human archaeological expeditions, ruins on dead worlds that predated known galactic history by millions of years, cities built by beings whose technology made current human achievements look primitive, artifacts that contained knowledge too advanced for any current species to fully understand. Kate Morrison pointed to energy readings from the ship's quantum cores. Captain, we are detecting response patterns from some of the artifacts we carry. The ancient technologies are reacting to our presence here, as if they recognize what is happening. Victoria realized the implications. The reveal of human capabilities was triggering responses from technologies left by even older civilizations. The galaxy contained secrets within secrets, layers of hidden knowledge that stretched back to the beginning of recorded time. Rachel Davis reported new developments. Multiple alien fleets are requesting permission to observe our technology. Several minor powers are offering to share their own archaeological discoveries. The scientific community across the galaxy wants to establish formal contact with human researchers. The war that aliens had expected to fight was transforming into something entirely different. Instead of military conflict, they faced the possibility of learning from technologies and knowledge that could advance their civilizations by thousands of years. Victoria opened communications to all ships in the system, both human and alien. This is what we consider basic defensive technology. The real advances are hidden in dimensions you cannot yet detect, stored in facilities you cannot imagine, protected by beings whose existence transcends your current understanding. The response was immediate. Alien commanders requesting tours of human vessels, scientists begging for access to human libraries, entire governments offering to abandon territorial claims in exchange for technological cooperation. Kate Morrison smiled as she watched the transformation of galactic politics through her engineering displays. The careful balance of power that had existed for millennia was crumbling as species realized they were all students in a universe filled with teachers they had never known existed. Admiral Grace Thompson stood in the command center of humanity's capital ship, Transcendent Dawn, a vessel so massive it contained its own weather systems and artificial ecosystems. The ship was more like a mobile world than a military craft capable of housing millions of humans and serving as a mobile command base for operations across multiple star systems. around her holographic displays, showed the rapid collapse of existing galactic political structures as news of human capabilities spread through communication networks faster than light travel could carry military responses. Species that had been enemies for thousands of years were suddenly united by the shocking realization of their own insignificance. Intelligence Officer Holly Martinez approached with reports from across the galaxy. The Korthan Empire has just declared complete neutrality and is requesting a formal non-aggression treaty that makes them the 15th major galactic power to abandon the hegemony alliance in less than 12 hours. Grace nodded while studying tactical displays that showed the true scope of human military presence. Ships that had been invisible for centuries were now revealing themselves in star systems throughout the galaxy. Each revelation caused more panic among alien governments who realized they had never been truly safe from human observation. Strategic Coordinator Patricia Brooks added new intelligence reports. Admiral, we are receiving communications from 17 different species offering to share their archaeological discoveries. Several are claiming to have found artifacts that might be connected to the civilizations we have been studying. The most shocking aspect of the revelation was not just human military superiority, but the depth of their knowledge about galactic history. Humans had been silent observers of every major conflict, scientific breakthrough, and political development for thousands of years, while aliens believed they were making history in isolation. Grace moved to the Central Command Station, where she could monitor communications from across human space. Fleet commanders were reporting similar scenes in dozens of star systems, alien forces surrendering without resistance, governments requesting immediate diplomatic contact, research institutions begging for access to human scientific databases. The Zephyrian Admiral Cathara appeared as a hologram, her crystalline features showing a mixture of fear and desperate curiosity. Admiral Thompson, I need to understand how long you have been watching us. How much do you know about our history, our secrets, our hidden projects? Grace considered her response carefully, knowing that complete honesty would be more devastating to alien pride than any military defeat. Your species launched their first interstellar colony ship 2,847 years ago. We monitored its progress along with every subsequent expansion, every war, every technological breakthrough, every secret weapon program. The silence that followed was profound. Admiral Cathara realized that humans possessed complete intelligence files on every major galactic civilization going back millennia. Nothing had been hidden from human observation. No secret safe from human knowledge, no plan unknown to human strategists. We know about your hidden colonies. Grace continued, your backup plans for species extinction events, your secret alliances, your forbidden research projects. We have comprehensive records of every significant decision made by every major power in this galaxy. Holly Martinez reported new developments from monitoring stations throughout human space. Admiral, 3 more species have declared neutrality. The hegemony. Council is fragmenting as member species realize their military plans have been known to humans for centuries. Patricia Brooks added intelligence from diplomatic channels. The Zephyrian government is requesting immediate peace negotiations. They are offering territorial concessions that include half their colonial holdings. The Korthan Empire wants to establish a permanent embassy on one of our revealed worlds. Grace walked to the observation deck, where she could see other human vessels, moving through space with impossible grace. Ships that bent reality around them using technologies inherited from ascended civilizations. Vessels that existed partially in normal space and partially in dimensions that current galactic science could not detect or understand. Admiral Cathara's voice came through the communication system again. Admiral Thompson, what do you want from us? What are your intentions toward our species and the other galactic powers? Grace replied while watching displays, showing human archaeological expeditions on worlds throughout the galaxy. The same thing we have always wanted. To exist in peace, to continue our research, to protect and study the knowledge we have inherited from civilizations that your people cannot imagine. The truth was that humanity had become the inheritors of technologies from dozens of extinct species, beings that had transcended physical existence, leaving behind tools and knowledge for those who would come after them. Humans had been chosen as students and caretakers of wisdom, that predated current galactic civilization by millions of years. Holly Martinez received new reports. Admiral, the scientific communities of 12 different species are requesting access to our archaeological databases. They want to establish joint research programs to study the artifacts we have discovered. Patricia Brooks added diplomatic intelligence. The Galactic Trade Federation is offering humans permanent seats on their governing council with full voting rights. They want to restructure the entire galactic economy around human technological capabilities. Grace smiled as she realized the full scope of what was happening. The war that aliens had expected to fight was transforming into the greatest period of galactic cooperation in recorded history. Species that had been locked in conflicts for millennia were suddenly united by the desire to learn from human knowledge. The command center displays showed human ships throughout the galaxy revealing themselves to alien populations who had never suspected their presence. Research stations emerging from camouflage on worlds thought to be uninhabited. Manufacturing facilities decloaking in asteroid fields, mobile bases appearing in empty space, where nothing was supposed to exist. Grace opened communications to all human commanders across the galaxy. The deception phase of our mission is complete. Begin cultural integration protocols. Prepare to share selected technologies with species that demonstrate peaceful intentions. Continue monitoring for any attempts at hostile action. Admiral Cathera sent one final message. Admiral Thompson, the galaxy will never be the same after today. How do we move forward knowing that everything we believed about our place in the universe was wrong? Grace considered the question while watching alien fleets throughout the galaxy, powering down their weapons and requesting permission to establish peaceful contact. The same way any student moves forward, when they discover their teacher has been watching and guiding them all along. 6 months after the event that historians would call the Great Revelation, Ambassador Claire Foster sat in the newly constructed Galactic Coordination Center that orbited in what had once been considered neutral space. The massive station was built using human technology, but designed to accommodate every known species in the galaxy, creating meeting spaces that could support different atmospheric requirements and gravitational preferences. The first unified galactic assembly was unlike anything in recorded history. Species that had been locked in bitter warfare for thousands of years now sat at the same negotiating table, united by the humbling realization that they had all been observed by a civilization capable of ending any of their conflicts with minimal effort. Claire looked out across the assembly hall where representatives from 47 different species were gathered for the historic session. The motion to establish protected status for developing civilizations passes by unanimous vote. She announced, her voice carrying to every delegate through advanced translation systems. President Nicole Adams spoke from the hidden human homeworld through quantum entanglement communication systems that allowed instant contact across any distance. Her instructions had been clear about humanity's new role in galactic affairs. Humanity would step out of the shadows gradually and carefully, ensuring that galactic civilization evolved rather than collapsed under the weight of technological revelation. Commander Stephanie Walker, now serving as humanity's military coordination liaison, watched through the station's observation windows as former enemy fleets conducted joint training exercises under human supervision. The Zephyrian ships that had once seemed so formidable now appeared almost primitive beside human vessels that had finally abandoned their disguises. The transformation of galactic society had been swift and complete. Within weeks of the revelation, species that had maintained standing armies for centuries began converting military resources to scientific research. Governments that had spent enormous resources on weapons development started investing in archaeological expeditions and cultural exchange programs. Dr. Jennifer Moore, humanity's new director of technological integration, studied reports from across the galaxy, showing the rapid advancement of alien civilizations. The galaxy is becoming a different place entirely, she commented to Claire. These species have been stagnant for centuries, locked in conflicts that prevented real scientific and cultural progress. Claire nodded while reviewing diplomatic reports that showed unprecedented cooperation between former enemies. Now, they have something to inspire them. Not just competition with each other, but the possibility of eventually standing as equals with us Through the stations, vast transparent walls assembled, diplomats could observe human ships moving through space with impossible grace. Their hulls rippled with technologies that seemed to bend the fundamental laws of physics. But more importantly, they could see vessels from dozens of species working alongside human craft, learning and adapting, beginning to reach toward potentials they had never imagined possible. The Zephyrian ambassador Tiara approached Claire with a proposal that would have been unthinkable months earlier. Ambassador Foster, my government wants to establish a permanent joint archaeological mission with human researchers. We have discovered ruins on 17 worlds that appear to predate our own civilization. Claire smiled, knowing that similar requests were coming from species throughout the galaxy. The hunger for knowledge that had been suppressed by endless military conflicts was finally being released as civilizations realized the universe contained far more mysteries than they had ever suspected. Commander Walker received reports from human fleet commanders throughout the galaxy. The integration process is proceeding faster than anticipated. She told Claire alien species are adapting human technologies and incorporating them into their own designs. Several civilizations have already achieved breakthrough advances in faster-than-light travel and energy generation. The most remarkable change was in how different species viewed each other. The ancient prejudices and territorial disputes that had shaped galactic politics for millennia were dissolving as civilizations realized they were all students in an educational system that stretched back to the beginning of recorded time. Dr. Moore approached with new developments from the research divisions. Jennifer, we are receiving requests from 23 different species to participate in deep space exploration missions. They want to search for evidence of the civilizations that taught humanity. Several are offering to share resources and personnel for joint expeditions. Claire considered the implications. The revelation of human capabilities had opened doorways to questions that no single species could answer alone. The galaxy was beginning to function as a unified scientific community, rather than competing military powers. President Adams' voice came through the communication system from the human homeworld. The deep archives are being prepared for limited access, she announced. Selected representatives from allied species will be granted permission to view artifacts from the most ancient civilizations we have studied. The response was immediate. Alien diplomats throughout the assembly hall began requesting their governments be considered for participation in the program. The possibility of accessing knowledge from civilizations that had existed before current stars formed was irresistible to species that had spent millennia believing themselves to be among the most advanced forms of life. Claire stood to address the full assembly. The age of secrets and deception has ended, she announced. The age of cooperation and shared discovery begins today. But remember that even humanity is still learning, still discovering, still growing in understanding of the universe. We all share? Ambassador Tiara asked the question that every species was considering. What happens when we discover that there are civilizations even more advanced than the ones that taught humanity? What do we do if we find beings that make human knowledge look primitive? Claire smiled while looking out at the assembled representatives of galactic civilization. We do what any good students do when they discover their teachers have teachers of their own. We prepare ourselves to learn and grow beyond anything we currently believe possible in the deepest vaults of human knowledge. Sealed archives remained closed, containing records of civilizations so advanced, so alien, that even humanity was not ready to comprehend their full legacy. Some secrets would wait for another day, another century, another millennium. When galactic civilization had matured enough to handle truths about the universe that could reshape reality itself, the galaxy had room to grow and time to learn. The story of universal discovery was just beginning, and every species would have the chance to contribute their own chapter to the endless book of cosmic knowledge that stretched from the smallest quantum particles to the largest structures, spanning multiple dimensions, through cooperation rather than conflict, through shared wonder rather than territorial dispute. The galaxy would finally reach toward its true potential among the infinite mysteries of existence.